more than 2,300 miles down the center of our country.
Well, national correspondent Justin Michaels visited some of the hardest hit areas and joins us now. Justin, the economic impact, really going to be stretching here from coast to coast.
Coast to coast, and no end in sight with this, guys. It's a very tough situation. The river is narrowing. It's getting shallower. Barges are getting stuck. And the economists we talked to said that 75% of our nation's economy goes up this river. And right now, not much is moving. Barges sit idle on the historically low Mississippi River. The water isn't deep enough, and they risk running aground like this one in Osceola, Arkansas, stopping all of those from moving. So what does this have to do with you? A lot.
How do you manage supply that's low? You get higher prices.
Ken Erickson is an expert on the finances of America's biggest, most efficient way to move goods, the mighty Mississippi.
Whether it's grains, corn, soybeans, soybean meal, but then you've got steel, you've got chemicals, and you've got energy products such as diesel or gasoline, ethanol, but coal.
Quickly approaching, winter travel may be impacted. De-icer used on planes and salt used on roads all move on this river.
When you have snow and ice, that's very important. So for the average consumer, that's the part that gets to be important for them every day.
Our crop mix is more than likely going to change if things keep going the way they are.
Arkansas farmer Jacob Appleberry depends on the Mississippi for every crop he grows, and most stay domestic. Household staples like rice, wheat, soybeans, and cotton.
If we don't do what we do, it doesn't get passed on down the line to get what everybody needs in their hometown, whatever that is, whether it's in New York or another small town right down the road.
This river is 75% of America's economy and economic build to this point.
Third-generation Mississippi barge company owner Austin Golding explains the Army Corps of Engineers continues dredging, working daily to keep commerce moving.
There's about 4 or 5 spots that are so narrow, it's extremely restricted to even a 25 barge tow.
At those narrow points on the Mississippi, water levels continue to drop. Where dredging is happening, commerce comes to a complete standstill, and every moment these barges sit here, it gets pricey.
Our whole game is scale of economy and scale of efficiency. Once you start taking efficiency and economies off, by meaning less barges and less cargo, the cost of our services go through the roof.
And if it costs more for Jacob to move his grains up the Mississippi, it will eventually cost more for you at the store.
If it keeps going like it is now, we're going to have to find other places to deliver grain, or we're going to have to come up with new ways to store our grain or produce less grain.
Talking about a system that connects everything from the upper reaches of Pennsylvania all the way out to Oklahoma, into the Great Lakes, all the way to Texas, all the way to Florida, and through the Gulf of Mexico. Massive, massive economic impact.
You know, it's really startling to think about it when you're talking about just one barge. That is equal to about 70 tractor trailers full of goods and 16 rail cars. And guys, if you multiply that, you heard Austin Golding there, the barge owner, say that right now they're pushing 25 barges per push up the river. They can do as much as 40 or 50 of them, but they're down to 25 because of how narrow it is. But think about that. One barge, 70 trucks, semis, or 16 rail cars, multiply that out, that's 1,750 semis, okay, on one push, or 400 rail cars on one push.
Right.
And that's just one movement up the Mississippi. That's how big this is to our economy. And right now, with those pinch points, the Army Corps of Engineers needs to shut down the river for 24 hours at each one of those bends to dredge, just to allow those ships to go through and push those goods north. It is a huge, huge part of our economy, and it is being really pinched.
So the problem is, like, the bends of the river have gotten so narrow to turn the boat, to turn these massive, you know, tugboats. They end up getting stuck if they're not dredged.
And some are getting stuck on sandbars. It's interesting. We were standing there on the banks of the Mississippi, and it's seemingly normal. It looks normal. And we were talking with a few of the folks that work there at Golding Barge Lines, and they said, do you see all that ripple in the water out there just outside the channel? That's the water brushing along the floor of the Mississippi. They said it's less than a foot deep right there.
Wow.
And less than a foot deep.
So they need rain, but not just over Memphis. So you got to get it well upstream so that water can then rise.
Right. So rain, long periods of rain that are not deluges, that nothing that's going to flood, and also a snowy winter that melts over a long
Just
time.
need precip.
Right.
Precip.
Well, we
However
will
it
have a
falls,
little bit in the next couple of
need a
days.
lot of little
And
bits.
I know it's going to be a while, but we'll take what we can get here, and we'll talk more about that coming up next on the Weather Channel.